Welcome to Organizing Elephants on MLTV Mainline Network. I'm your host, Darla DeMorrow, and this is the show where we have sanity-saving wisdom from smart, busy, accomplished people. And for the rest of this year, I've made an executive decision that we're going to focus on home offices because, hey, we're all at home. You can see that I'm here in my home office, as is my guest today. And we have actually been doing a little bit of work on her office. I'd like to welcome on Nicolette Emmino. Welcome.
Hi, Darla. Thanks for having me.
And as folks know, they are watching this on a recorded Zoom call. So I'm in my office, you're in your office, you're actually there in New York. And I appreciate the fact that you are coming on to share with us the journey that you took with me to get your home office organized, because as most people are dealing with right now, actually literally most people in the world right now are working from home. And you have what I like to call the every man, every woman situation, where you have a small slice of your home that you get to put a desk, but you don't have a dedicated room that you get to close a door and call it your home office. And that's all that happens there. You actually have a multifunctional space. And when I met with you the first time, I was struck by the things that you said. You know, I can't organize my way out of a paper bag, or I'll organize something, but hours later it feels like it's disorganized again. And that's what I hear all the time from people. So I reached out to you and offered to work with you virtually, which is something that we do all the time with our clients. And I'm glad you took me up on it, because we made a big difference in your space. And I think your story is going to inspire others to make their work at home space really great. So thank you for being on. And can you start by telling us what your job is?
So I co-lead a media marketing company, and you can call me anything you want. I wear many hats, but I've actually been working from home for about 5 years. So even before we launched this company in 2019, I was home. And I was in a smaller space, an even smaller space than the one that we looked at and that we worked on. So, I'm home all the time, even before this. And I've never given much thought to I've given some thought. I get furniture moving crazy, and I'll move some things around, or, impulsive moments of craziness. But I've never really thought, how do I make this space a good space to work in, a space that's really my own. And so here I am.
And we should sort of draw back the curtain right now and say that the background that you're seeing behind Nicolette is not her office. It is a very beautiful, very well done green screen background, right?
Mm-hmm. And that's one of the things that I have to consider too in my office, is that I often use a green screen. So I use it almost every day. So I need to have the space to do that. That's a consideration, definitely.
And by space, you mean literally a space to set up the green screen and also to store it when you're not using it.
Yep. And actually, in the smaller apartment that we were in last year, it's a really cool green screen too. It actually fits right under the bed. So I would lug it, from the bedroom every day, bring it out to the living room where my desk was. So, it fits under the bed, which is great. But now I don't have to do that. I do have more space, the space that we've been working on. So just need to accommodate it somewhere.
Right. And that allows you to be professional and to do the marketing work that you do with your clients, which is fabulous. I've seen you on some videos where you have different backgrounds, both still and video type backgrounds. So it's an important part of the marketing work that you do for yourself and your clients. So you got to have it around.
Mm-hmm. Yes, my office is definitely not this beautiful, even though we made some serious progress.
Well, so let's go ahead and show your office. We have a long shot from the front door of your home office, and it's, like I said, it's not its own dedicated room. Go ahead and describe it for us, Nicolette.
So it's a little unique in that it is the entryway to my home, and I often refer to it as the basement because really the majority of the home where things happen, everything is upstairs. So you enter, you're probably looking through the door, you're looking at my desk on the right-hand side, and you also have some other things in this space. So not only do I have foot traffic, now I have the laundry, which is that back closet there with the doors, with the pocket doors. And you've got animals because we run a petting zoo, apparently. So we've got a sulcata tortoise, which will grow to be about 100 pounds one day. We have a bunny.
How big is he right now?
Right now, he's about that big, but he's going to get bigger.
And he needs room to move around, which is something that we had to consider.
Yes, he needs to walk around. The bunny is here as well. Thank goodness we sent the geckos to the gecko farm to be happy forever. And because that was a lot of space taken up before too. But it's a lot of things. My husband also leaves for work very early in the morning. So he leaves his work clothes down in that little armoire there and changes down here. And when he comes home from work, he undresses here and leaves the stuff in the laundry. So it's also a changing room. It is a lot of things.
And like everybody, I really recommend when you walk in your door, you have a little, what I call a drop zone, or sometimes it'll be a full-blown command center, but you need some place to put the bags down and to hang the keys and to take the coats off and all that sort of thing. So that's all going on in your space too. In the picture we've got of your spot, we actually have off to the left-hand side is that little circular chair. And that became your drop zone, didn't it?
It became a nightmare. It was, what did you call it, Darla? A catcher's mitt. And it literally was a catcher's mitt. And I'm using past tense because thank goodness that thing is gone, because it is gone. And it was just a pile of junk. And I don't even know what half of that stuff was. It's just, we just throw things there. And toys, clothes, shoes, probably food. I don't know what's there. There's a whole bunch of stuff there. I live with a 6-year-old, so there's a whole bunch of stuff.
Well, and thanks for sharing all this with us, because again, I think everybody has some version of this going on. They may not have the African tortoise that you have, but everybody's got this sort of multi-dimensional catch-all space that they're trying to make sense of. It just happens for you also to be your home office. And so when we were talking and you said, this is not ideal. I'm thinking about maybe moving it upstairs. I'm thinking about doing some other things down here. And we talked through that. So tell us, again, you live with your husband and your 6-year-old son. So
I want to share a little bit about the year 2020, which was wonderful for all of us. But it was especially challenging for my home office because we had, and I know every time I say it, I get goosebumps and I just cringe, but we had a lot of construction going on here. So I rent, and I know we're going to talk a little bit about that being one of the kind of constraints that we have. But I rent this home. So I can't do a lot of things, but the landlord had some things done. We did have some mold in the attic and whatnot when we moved in. And there were people fixing the roof and people fixing the attic, and they were coming in and out all day long for about 6 weeks or so. That was how I started 2020. So it was challenging. It was very, very challenging to find the space to work with all these people in and out of the house. So it felt even worse. It felt even worse than just sharing it with my husband, who at the time was at work, or my son at the time was at school, So it was just icky.
Yeah. And you really, I feel like you still have some of that trauma.
Yeah, I have PTSD
in your relationship with where your desk sits. So that was laid on top of it. So we did talk about, was your home office in the right space? Mm-hmm. And take us through that thought process. We looked at a couple of other spots.
Yes. So, Darla, you actually proposed 2 options, right? We talked about leaving it where it was, and we would talk about how to fix that. Or the other option was we have a playroom upstairs. We have a 3rd bedroom. We only have 1 child, so he gets this whole room to store his toys and play in, and we just close the door and we never have to see any of that mess, which was really the appeal of the 3-bedroom. But we had actually, my husband and I actually talked about this before you brought it up. And so it was kind of already brewing. actually like, well, what if we move the office upstairs and then put some gym equipment in there, right? Because we can't go to the gym. So, what if we thought about all these things that we could do with that little room, and it's smaller than this space, but it would be, one space, and then we would take all the toys and put them down here. So it was something we tossed around. We never made a move, but then you brought it up, and I had to do some serious soul searching. I mean, I think that's kind of how we refer to it. Is this the right fit? And I think it would be amazing. But when we spoke about it, my husband and I, we talked about my son and what's really going to happen when we move those toys downstairs, and what's going to happen to the home. My son has a little separation anxiety. So he doesn't want to be, right now he's going through a really bad phase where he doesn't want to be out of our sight. And okay, so how do we send him downstairs to play? B, he's going to bring all those toys upstairs so that we can play and he can play with us. That's the other scenario. So is that going to really solve anything, or is it now going to clutter up the living room? And ultimately we decided that yes, it's a great thing and we want to do that eventually, but now is not the time.
Right. And I think that's so great that you went through that thought process. It really did two things for you from an organizational standpoint. One is it allowed you to claim the space downstairs. Mm-hmm. So you didn't have to go back and forth between, am I really in the right spot? Could I be using the spaces in my home better? You were able to have that discussion with your husband and legitimize the office that you're in right now. And therefore that, I think, what was getting you over the hump to be able to do the next thing, which was to make the changes we're going to talk about in a minute. And the other thing is super, super important. We don't organize just for the fun of it. Maybe I do because I'm a professional, but that's not what most people do. It's always people over things, right? And I love that you and your husband and your son got to the point where you all agreed that having that playroom in that space was more important than having mommy's office in there right now, and that having mommy's office was still super important. Mm-hmm. And you're going to invest in the space downstairs to make it work for you. So that, just taking the time to get through that, I think was important, and you feel good about it.
I do. I really do. And that was really important. I'm glad you brought it up in such a way that I had to think about it. It kind of like, it was no longer fleeting. I was forced to now make a decision. What am I going to do? We're talking about it. Now I had some validation as well from you as to, yes, we can make this space work even if we are downstairs. So I wasn't kind of guessing myself anymore,
Yeah. And I find that, especially with women, but not only with women, anybody who's at home right now, we're thinking, oh, well, we're going to go back. How much change do I really need to make to my house? But women especially, we do tend to put the needs of our family first, or take those into account to a greater degree than our own needs. And hey, you are you're a co-lead in a firm. You need to be able to work when you're working. So legitimizing that need and carving out that space, I think, was super important. And you said it, validating what you needed was really important to moving on. So we have a shot of your office, and so the desk with the cages behind it, you've got two monitors on there, you've got a chair, big comfy office chair. But that's really a small portion, like most home offices. It's a small portion of this big room. This room, by the way, is what we designers would call a bowling alley because it's longer than it is wide. It's 20 feet long and 10 feet wide. So your desk is located in the back sort of half of it from where the door sits. But underneath the staircase is where you had the animal cages originally, which was fine, right? But just when we talked about what else does your office need to do and what else do you need to do in that space, the entry area, the space for your husband to dress and undress after work, that sort of thing. So you and I talked about what would make that space really work for you and how to create some separation in a space where there is no separation. Mm-hmm. So you were going down the road of creating some privacy panels or some sort of wall. But as you mentioned, you're in a renter space, and that wasn't really in the cards for you. So tell me a little bit more about that.
So I always had this vision of buying those, those stand-up like room dividers. And I remember browsing for the past few months, stand-up room dividers, and I have them all saved in my search, and it just didn't feel right. So I didn't do it. So when we had a discussion, you proposed furniture as a separator. And now I am afraid of change. I don't like change. I don't like buying things. I don't like any of this. So it was very scary for me. I'm like, oh my goodness, she's scaring the heck out of me. So I actually then started exploring, and I remember emailing you and saying, well, I found these other things, right? That thing seems so big, I don't know, because you had proposed 2 IKEA units, right? To IKEA.
I actually sent you the links for the pieces that I thought would work in the space, and you were starting from the links and then riffing off of that, right?
Yep. So I had all these other ideas, and ultimately, when we talked about it more, the IKEA units were the right fit. And, what's crazy is that you can't find the IKEA unit we need right now. So there is no, perfect aftershot, because IKEA is out of stock for the dimensions that we need on the larger unit. However, you recommended I search some local marketplaces and Craigslist, and I was like, all right, Facebook Marketplace, I got it. And I picked up the smaller unit, which now rests on the left-hand side. And, once I can actually buy drawers and cabinets from IKEA, I can get those things filled too. IKEA, please come back in stock.
I know. So the units that you're talking about, for people that are watching, are called the Kallax, Kallax. And everybody's doing the same thing. Everybody right now is thinking, oh my gosh, my kids are going to be home. Where are we going to put their stuff? So there's a lot of IKEA activity going on right now. But you can see in one of the shots we have here that the IKEA units, or any cube unit, right, they're all over. You can find them at Target. You can find them at Crate and Barrel, just a bunch of different places. And you had concerns about them, which I get, which is, are they going to look junky? Are they going to look, cluttery all the time? And so I showed you some shots of, this is a 2x4 unit. So it stands 4 cubes high and 2 cubes wide. And just by adding some bins, some decorative elements, and by stacking the books sort of in an artful way, it cleans it up a lot and provides you that room divider. It's also, depending on the ones that you're looking at, can be a lot more child safe than just putting a bookshelf in the middle of a room. So we talked about all of that. And so we have a shot of the black unit that you got on Craigslist, I think, Facebook
Marketplace.
Okay.
Yep.
And actually, the benefit of that was?
It was a great price. And not only was it a great price, but my husband didn't have to put it together, which I tell you is priceless, because that is always a conversation.
Yes. We're all about saving marriages here. So if you can, if you don't have to put together another piece of IKEA furniture and just pick it up for a great price, you got it for less than you would have bought in the store.
And didn't have to put it together.
Exactly. So, right now it's there, it's kind of waiting its counterpart, because we need to get the bigger one. Mm-hmm. And then you actually did a little Etsy shopping, and you found something that I think is going to really work for you.
Yes. And you know what, actually, that was the deal breaker for me, because when I told you, oh, this is so, this is cheap, what I was envisioning was a unit we had. It was a little smaller. It was smaller than the one that I have now. And we had it in the old apartment, and it was when my son was about 1, and we had all of these toys shoved in it, in those like really cheap fabric bins, and they were kind of bulging. So you had toys sticking out, from everywhere in the living room, and it just looked so, and I kept saying, this is not going to look good. This is not going to look good. But what I did, right, we looked at the Etsy, right? The Etsy, and there were some doors, and really all I needed to see was one person show me what this could look like in a not cluttered kind of way, and how I could spice this up so that it wouldn't look like some cubes. I was afraid you were going to see through them when you walk in, and that's just not going to be the case when this is all done. So it really confirmed that decision for me.
Yeah. So, and I love that we don't have a picture of the doors that you found, but they're really cute. very artfully done sort of filigree wooden doors that stick on, and I propose once you stick them on, actually go ahead and screw them in. But I do have a shot of this kind of a unit that we used for another client, and the difference between having toys spilling out in all directions versus setting it up so it reflects your color scheme, having a combination of open and closed spaces, and the closed spaces would either be the doors or some bins. Again, pick ones you like, pick ones that go with your color scheme. And then add in some pictures, add in some family photos. In your case, with all the animals, I have no doubt that probably the bins on the bottom are going to be for animal gear, for
right now they are, Darla. Right now they're kind of just holding their place. IKEA actually has drawers. They have cabinets. They have harder kind of bins, almost the same material as the wood. So it's actually, I did find a lot on IKEA. Once I started looking, it's not just those fabric bins. So I'm very excited. And again, come back in stock, IKEA, please, so I can order those things. But, another thing I wanted to bring up, when I brought home this unit, and now we're waiting for this one, I did a little rearranging, and we talked about that ottoman because we got rid of the crazy catcher's mitt chair. And we talked about, well, what can we put there? So my grandmother had this piece of furniture from my great grandmother who passed away last year. And my son, for some reason, wanted it all along. He was like, I've got to have this. Why? It's not very attractive looking, it's a footstool, ottoman-y looking thing. So this was a perfect opportunity for me to call grandma and say, hey, Graham, I'm going to pick that thing up now because that's going to sit right here at the doorway. And I moved the armoire that was in the back left-hand side. And what I did was create an actual entryway. So once that new unit is here, my office and the animals live on this side. So when you walk in, you don't see any of that. You just see an armoire and a footstool looking thing.
And actually you tuck the armoire under the steps. I don't know if it's still there, but we have a picture of that. And I think that's brilliant. It kind of even gives your husband a little more privacy than he had before.
He was in front of the window. Everybody could see everything. So now
you've got these two room dividers, which also provide a lot of storage inside of them. And you've broken up this bowling alley shape with this designated space behind the room dividers that is your office and for the animals. And the laundry goes on there too, but mostly it's you doing laundry, so you don't have people traipsing through to get to that. And then you've got,
if you want to, Darla, they can. Yeah, I love for that.
That's an advanced skill when you get to that point and you've got other people doing your laundry for you. And then where those two bookcases stand together, there's essentially a doorway right now that we've talked about ways to block that off so that you can corral the animals and still give them a chance to run around. So now you've created these two spaces. You're working on building up, and I love this. Is one of the happiest things that you said is that you're taking something from something that you already own, or in this case, your grandmother owned it. You're taking it and you're making it really work for you in the entryway solution. So, and we've talked about maybe bringing in a dresser to hold the mittens and, doodads and all the things that come in to an entryway or a vestibule area. So that's maybe in the cards. I think you're going to continue to make some changes and continue to tweak, which is part of the sort and succeed system. We've talked about that as well. But that's actually step 4. So the tweaking and making it your own and continuing to make changes. I hope that you feel like you're empowered now to do that and you've taken over that space.
I really do. And I have to tell you a secret. So last night I was in that playroom and remember how anti-calyx I was. And I was looking and I said, you know what? I think I'm going to look for one for the playroom because you had mentioned like you can actually put one of those in there. And I started thinking, taking what you kind of taught me here and trying to apply it to another room because I saw now that I could see it here. I was like, oh, I could see it here too.
That is great. Well, that's exactly what the Sort and Succeed system is all about, is you learn to apply the 5 steps, SORT, and then reward yourself. And in your case, I think you're rewarding yourself by investing in your business.
I think I'm getting a massage too, Darla. I don't know.
Yeah. Hey, I'm all about, treating yourself in any way that makes sense. And then applying that to other spaces in your life, in your home, and just being as successful as you can be. That's really, what we're all about. So what else have you taken away from this? Anything else, Nicolette, that, that you'll take into your next organizing projects?
Yeah, I think it's, I need to be a little bit more open-minded. I really do. I think I was very almost shut down at first, and it kind of showed me, hey, Nicolette, this is not your thing. You need to listen to someone else sometimes, because I'm a very tangible person. So now I can see it, and now I can feel it. And now I can apply that, like I said, to other rooms. So I just appreciate that insight. I really do.
Well, that's another really good point and you said early on to me, look, I can't see it until I see it. Yeah. And, from a designer's standpoint, I get that. And that's why we did the computer
tape measure, right? Do you remember the tape measure?
The tape, as soon as you pulled out that tape measure, you're like, oh, well, let me see. And then, we had I put together the diagrams for you, and that all worked out. So, so that's really common. People can't necessarily see it until they see it. But now that you've given yourself permission to make changes, I think you're on your way. And I just really appreciate you sharing your story with us, because like I said at the top of the interview, this is really everybody's story right now. So hopefully we've inspired some people to go out or come in and make changes in their space so that they can really be comfortable working at home. So Nicolette, in the minute or so that we have left, just let people know how they can find you and your firm, and just tell us, where you're located.
Yeah, sure. So, I'm located at home here in New York, but you can find us at insomnicat.com. That's not like Insomniac, it's Insomnicat, and we don't even like cats. So it's INSOMNICAT.com. And I will be sharing with Darla some after shots once IKEA comes back in action. I'm very excited to show those off. So.
Great. And we'll be sure to post that on the website when that occurs. So thanks again, Nicolette. I appreciate having you on. And I just wish you tons of success and tons of peace and calm in your modified office this year.
Thanks.